adding more rules, or some people like to say they keep moving the goalposts. One thing that I have to say about what you were just saying about how a lot of people don't see things. This you'll probably hear me say this on this podcast a lot, but one of the things that always pissed me off, and I was talking to a good friend of mine that I went to school with, is I was hashing it out with him as well, and I was just like, one of the things that always pissed me off, whether it has to do with race, religion, like anything, the man who's currently running our country, with people, with humans, shit always has to get super bad to the point of no return for people to finally like open their eyes up and be like, shit, we have to do something. Even though there's clear warning signs, there's flags everywhere, there's a clear path being laid out before you that shit's gonna get bad if we keep running down this path. But it's like, no, we don't have to worry about that. That's the way that it can happen. In the words of the great Blade, motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. Like, it's when it gets to the point where it's impossible, that's when everybody wants to try to turn shit around. So like that's
a good quote. That's a good quote.
Pisses me off, man.
That's a very good quote. I gotta use that one. Motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Hello, Twitch. Hello, Internet. Hello, YouTube. Hello, everybody, even though we're not streaming on YouTube, but hopefully, one day we will be. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the KNOE. I cannot believe it. 2 beers, we are at episode 7. We're almost at episode 10, sir. Almost there. How do you feel, sir? How are you doing?
I'm feeling good, man. What's up, everybody out there? Thank you for coming back and listening. We're flying through them. We're hitting that. We'll be hitting that episode 10 soon.
Yeah,
Feels
man.
Good, man. Feels good.
That is crazy, but yeah, it is interesting. But that comes into a little bit of talk about the punishment, man. We were due. I know you've been waiting for it. Young Thug and. This is my lifestyle. The most ignorant mess I've ever listened to. So yeah, we were supposed to do the punishment. It's kind of delayed. It'll probably be this Tuesday. I stayed before. I've been fighting off infection. My throat's been hurting. I couldn't even talk for like the past few days. So most of the time when I would talk, I'll have to shut my teeth and just talk like this, which sounds almost normal, but basically my teeth aren't moving. And I had to talk like that just to keep it because my throat was so swollen. So we went to the doctors. We got the all clear. Just need to get rest and, take care of yourself, that kind of stuff. Look for it, hopefully. Tomorrow's supposed to be raining, and I'm going to be in New York, outside most of New York. So hopefully we don't make it any worse.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that, man.
Yes. Shout out to Christian Harloff and the Centene, which is Schmodown Entertainment Network, will be attending one of their events come tomorrow. So if you're out in New York and you're at the Schmodown, we'll be there. So when I say we, I mean
check them out one of these days.
Yeah, you got to. When I say we, I mean me and my brother. We used to go every year in there. But before we go into topics, man. I want to get into this this mentality of white knighting, right? And and I think it's fair, right? It's fair to say, to bring up people who white knight and all, right? But let's kind of honestly talk about, what is actually what white knighting is, right? Is for people who don't know, it's an actual syndrome, right? I know YouTube uses and internet uses not YouTube, but the internet uses a lot of terms, from other actual terms to describe stuff like, for instance, okay boomer, which is one of the dumbest ones. But basically, somebody who's a white knight is basically somebody who feels that they always have to be in the need to go out and rescue somebody, right? Everybody's a damsel in distress or, somebody in need of service. And hence, I'm not for all of my gender equality people, I'm saying damsel in distress because that's where the term white knight comes from. Somebody who has to go out and save that, princess in a castle. So don't jump on me because I'm using female, genders. But this is the idea of it, right? So yesterday we have a talk. We talk about Paige. And the conversation was not about whether or not Paige should have done what she should have did, right? Which was she made a sex tape basically with one of her partners for her and her partner to relive, later on down in life. The idea wasn't a matter of whether or not she should did it. She went through it. That stayed before she almost had suicide. She was like, it was such a big thing, and she didn't know how to deal with it. She was almost on the ledge trying to commit suicide, basically. It fucked up her. And this was 3 years ago, right? So we're way past that. The fact of the matter is that you have bosses who are talking to people, whether investors or other people, about their product, and they're making jokes to these things. And that's where the issue is. It has nothing to do with her and what she did 3 years ago. It's the fact of you're a boss, you're somebody who represents the company, and you should be acting in a certain manner, right? And I know a lot of people seem to forget this because we have a boss in the office of the White House who acts in the same manner, and they forget what professionalism actually is, right? And he's lowered the bar, and you become more acceptable of these type of behaviors. But guess what, America? This is not right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Two Beers. You want to interject real quick and give your thoughts?
No. This is good.
Okay. So it's not what's right, and people have to understand that if you accept these thoughts, these old ideologies, you're not helping, you're hurting, right? The world is about evolution. Everything evolves, right? Before it was Adam and Eve, and now guess what, folks? It's Adam and Steve, right? Is the idea is this, right? People change, people evolve. The normalities of today are not the same normalities of tomorrow, right? We could be in 25 years where literally gender is nothing, and we're just in a world where we do whatever we want. We don't put labels. We don't say somebody's white. We don't say they're black. We don't say they're a man. We don't say they're a woman. We don't say they're married. We could strip all of those things. I know it sounds weird, but guess what? These things happen, right? The world evolves, people and their mentalities evolve, right? The idea that people of brown skin or of lower standards should be slave should evolve, right? I mean, that's the ideology of America. This is the land of the free, where a common person could come and have that lifestyle that they want as long as they work hard for it. Remember these ideologies? The two picket, the white picket fence with the 2.5 children, and the wife, these ideologies are gone. Family. Exactly. And people seem to forget these ideologies, right? Because everything on the internet is about saying whatever you want to say. And I kind of laugh at it because guess what? That's what the no is for those who don't know. The no is basically no, oh my gosh, no nothing, opinion on everything. Wow, I forgot my own acronym for a minute there. No nothing, opinion on everything. Sorry. No, that's fine. It's fine. I slipped. It happens. And that's just the idea and the mentality of the internet. But you have to take a moment and you have to stop and you have to think about it, right? Anonymity does not mean you go out and say and do what you want without repercussions. There's repercussions to everything. And you can't adopt that mentality because you know what you're doing? You're making us worse. You're making yourself worse, and you're making the next generation worse, right? And that's going to kind of go into what our first topic is going to be. But I just want to give this idea of white knighting, right? Coming to somebody's idea or views that they should have, they shouldn't act like a dick is not white knighting, right? I'm not saying what she did was correct or not. People have privacy or should have privacy with some of the stuff they do. When they are the victim of an action such as hacking, meaning somebody goes into your stuff and steals something that you want to be private, right? And makes it public. That's a crime, people. That's not anything but a crime, right? You are a victim of that crime, right? Now,
Yep.
that's the way it works. So I know neither of the two are in chat to listen to this, and I hope that we can make a nice highlighted video after this, and we could send this out to them to understand this is what it is. Don't throw out white knighting, right? I can understand, we're talking about Sony, and we're like, Microsoft doesn't do anything bad and they're going to be good, and you're fanboying. I can understand that, right? Yeah, there's reasons for it, but last time, for that long 45-minute argument about nothing, argument about stupidity, let's be honest, it was argument about, I guess it was a misunderstanding. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Argument about a misunderstanding. We'll look at it from that point. It wasn't needed. Mm-hmm. It wasn't needed. Anything you want to say before we move on to our first topic, sir?
Yeah, real simple. Like, I know that there's like a lot of situations where people actually have a choice, and people might make a decision that might turn around and bite them in the ass. But you should never look at it in that sort of function, especially when it comes to stuff like this. Like, it should stop being the whole, well, the person shouldn't have recorded this, they shouldn't have took these sort of pictures, especially if it was always meant to be private in the first place. Yep. What I'm getting at clearly is if a person is in a position of power, whether they are the boss, whether they are a person that actually has the skills to hack into somebody's system, you should always put the blunt of responsibility on that person. Like, if they have the power, that's the person that you should be chastising to act better, not the person who had the shit done to them. And I think it's pretty simple as that. It's the same dumb shit as like back in the day before people started having a better thought process. And sadly, some people still don't have a better thought process on these sort of things. If a woman was raped, the first thing they would say is, well, what was she wearing? And stuff like dumb shit like that. So it's like,
yep.
Yeah, like, don't keep on saying the person who was attacked or the victim all these things they should have did or could have done. Look at the person who did the shit and basically say to them the things that they shouldn't have done to other people. That's the person that you should be chastising.
Well said, sir. Well said. I agree. But we're a world where today's day and age, we like to glamorize the actual offenders and not the actual victims. But
most def.
That's what it is. But I'm glad. Let's go into our first topic of today. It's not privacy. We're going to get into that in a second. We're going to get into that. We're going to go into first ISPs, right? Me and you, we've had some talks. In fact, the first episode we were talking about ISPs, and we were talking about Google Stadia and things of that nature, right? And one of the ideas is that people, let's be honest, today's day and age, we need internet, right? It's a necessity such as water, right? If you're cut out of the internet, it's not that you're going to die, but you're basically cut off from a lot of stuff because a lot of things have moved to cloud services and are just internet's just required for it, right? You can't even,
like getting a lot of places you have to have the internet to even apply to work there. You can't do the classic walk into and pick a paper application out anymore.
Yeah. So internet's changing a lot of things, and unfortunately, in this where we are now, a lot of our internet is not mandated by the government. It's mandated really by the ISPs, right? And the ISPs, for those who don't know, are internet service providers, and that's your AT&Ts, your Verizons, your Comcasts, the normal groups, right? Now, internet is growing, our speeds are growing, but our actual delivery of internet hasn't really changed, right? We're kind of stagnant. Different groups find different ways of delivering faster internet. As we get more and more people who use the internet gets congested. I gave the analogy before of a highway. You got a road which is like the pipe. You have one car. As soon as you fit more and more cars, traffic starts to slow down, basically. That's the way you look at the internet. And each car represents a household. The one thing we've always started, me and you've had talks, and then let's get to the point of it all, was me and you had talks about Google, right? And when Google first came out and pushing out fiber to the homes, and basically what we were trying to get to was how a lot of the other foreign countries who've later got internet, they're a lot quicker than we are, right? They offer 1 gig services for like $10 because their internet's so quick, right? We're nowhere near that point because our internet so mixed up. We have some places that don't even have high-speed internet, right? They're still on DSL. Believe this is true, folks. We have places where you can't get high-speed internet. You're still on dial-up DSL. You're still on the lower speeds. And this is truth, right? But we have all kinds of different internets, right? We don't have one internet, right? We have Verizon, who was doing fiber and they do DSL. We have Google, who's doing straight fiber to the home. Fiber, for those who don't know, is optical, meaning basically you're sending everything through light. You have Comcast, who has a mixture of everything. And then you have your AT&Ts, which are like satellite fiber. So you have all types of different providers. So the point is, we want to get everybody up basically on fiber, right? That's one of the quickest deliveries we can as of right now in terms of wire, right? To get everybody up and get everybody high speeds, right? So the government, as we stated before, they have to do different ways. They have to give basically money, part of the budget has to go towards saying, hey, ISPs, you're the ones who are building our internet infrastructure. Go ahead and do so. So they give different monies. They say they may give a tax credit, or they may actually give you money. Say, hey, if you build a certain amount of fiber in such an area, then we can then therefore allow people to go out there and utilize it, and we'll pay you for it. So the problem I have right now that we have is we're at a stagnant, right? It's not advancing. Why do you think that is? Nope. Why are we at a stagnant? And a lot of it comes to the point where Google backed out of fiber early because guess what? They found out the same verdict that Verizon came to. It's expensive. You can have all the money in the world, but to lay down fiber, especially when you have no infrastructure, no group, no basis, you're just laying straight fiber, it's hard. It costs a lot, So what's your thoughts on it in terms of where we are currently right now with the internet?
You laid it out pretty informal. I think we're way behind in a lot of other countries. It's not like we're on the low man on the totem pole, but we could be doing a whole lot better than what we're doing right now. And then there's things like when you brought up the Google thing. Yes, they did find out how expensive fiber was, but they also ran into a bunch of problems. One of the things that many companies have tried to get through, and bigger companies or well-established companies have always stopped, is a lot of companies have tried to push competition forward. They have tried to eliminate zoning laws. They have also tried to do things like one of the main things after Google found out how expensive fiber was, they tried multiple times to get internet service turned into a utility. So that way, just like stuff that happened with regular landlines back in the day, if they were allowed to get it turned into a utility, then it wouldn't matter who had put the fiber into a house already. That would allow them to run their services through that line. So there was they were trying to figure out a lot of different ways to go through without paying the enormous cost of to bury their own fiber. And they were making a lot of sense on it, because what's the sense if Verizon has their fiber running into a home, Comcast has their version of fiber / coaxial, whichever area you tend to be in, running into a home, and then all of a sudden you have Google running their fiber into a house as well. You have 3 different types of delivery systems ran into your house. They were trying to get it that if you could get it put down as a utility, then anybody has access to the wiring already in the home. It's been a pretty big battle, one that they've constantly failed at. But it also just goes to show you how much money plays a big part in politics. To be completely honest, the zoning laws should be done away with. I think it should be a shared system. Wherever you have to break it down, where the companies have to actually all go in with each other to flip the cost, whatever they need to build the infrastructure. It's the same thing like these sort of plays that are done by different corporations. They always slow down innovation. It's the same reason why we're supposed to be one of the most advanced nations, but yeah, we have one of the most crappiest train systems around. We should have had light rails and shit like that, going all throughout the country and stuff like that, but we don't. So, and I think this is the same sort of thing that holds this sort of innovation back.
I think you nailed a lot of it, but and I agree with you. So I think and you're correct, right? The zoning issue, and a lot of it, one side of it is competition, right? These ISPs don't want extra competition in, right? But just the other thing about using lines is you are very true to that, right? So let's look at it like this, right? You're a company and you lay down a road, right? A private road. Mm-hmm. And this private road is used by your company to get from their house to your business, right? It's one road, just one road, no lanes, just one road goes one way, two ways, one way up and down, right? You know how many cars are in your road, right? You understand it, right? So when it gets congested, you understand why, at which times, and you can offer different ways of trying to stop, or slow down so many cars coming into that one road driving, in this analogy. So what happens when you start to introduce 3-4 other companies that all want to start using that road? Congestion is more congestion, right? Because now you have 3-4 times the amount of cars on your road. They're all driving at the same time, and they're slowing everything down. I think that's one of the issues that are coming. But at the same time, there's ways to get past that, right? You digital traffic, as I stated before, right? Traffic from internet is not that it's not that expensive, right? The average household does not use that much internet, right? If you got a pipe that say is 10,000, that could hold 10 Gs, right? And then you got a person that's using 3 megs, 10 gigs. Average household is using about 10 megs. You have plenty of pipe, right? It depends on what you're throwing in that pipe. Now, if that pipe you're throwing out other businesses and other things down that pipe, then of course, you're using a lot, right? So the idea is, I think what you said is true, but I think it's something that an ISP can manage, right? They understand what's going in and out of their pipes, their lines, basically, for internet. So it's something where, if you're going to do this, make it so that, if Google is going to come in and say use your line for their internet customers, then Google will say, hey, we will pay you X amount of dollars per month. Or actually, no, we won't pay you any money per month. But if our traffic or our actual consumption or delivery, whatever, is past a certain amount or a threshold, then yes, we'll pay you X amount for each whatever gig or customer that's beyond that threshold, right? If you're saying that we're only going to add 10 more customers to your line, they're going to only use this much of your pipe, which is probably 0.1% or 1% of your pipe, that shouldn't be an issue, right? From that standpoint, right? The government's giving you a kickback because now you're building and you have that line, and now other companies are using it so they could build. They have competition, it happens. But then there shouldn't be an issue. But when they start growing bigger or whatever, and they get bigger, then guess what? The companies that are out, who are losing, who might laid that line, can now get some money off of it. So that way, even though their customers going down, we're still getting money from the ISPs that are using our line. So therefore, it's a win-win, right? They're still getting a check no matter what, and they stay in business, so to say.
Yeah, if done right. Yeah. If done right, it could be a symbiotic relationship. It could be a self-sustaining ecosystem if done correctly.
Yeah.
But
so I know
we know how people are.
Yes. So I think one of the biggest problems is that the FCC is in charge of a lot of these funds. And I know I read an article. The FCC shut down basically. There was a $20 billion broadband fund, right? And this funding program basically was saying, which is kind of crazy when you read this article, that like in New York, that they have like 80-something% of the people in New York who literally do not have high-speed internet. It's not in the rural areas.
That is insane.
Yeah, you would think that like in today's day and age that this isn't. Yeah, so they said 87% in rural New York actually have high-speed internet. So that's 13% of the homes in rural New York do not have high-speed broadband internet, which is nuts. And people are saying, okay, well, what dictates actual high-speed internet? It's like 25 megabits down and 3 megabits up is what they classified as broadband, right? That's what you have to hit. So that means these people are lower than 25 megabits per second. That's crazy to think about, right?
That is crazy.
So the FCC shut it down because they said there was other programs, but then there's a lot of companies like Verizon and so forth who say that they don't get money from these other programs. it's dumb, right? How do you feel about the FCC, right? The way that they're managing a lot of, because it seems like when you look at a lot of this, it's the FCC that's having that's specifically the problem.
I don't even know how to look at it. Like, I want to say that it's all due to this administration, but Ajit Pai, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, he actually came in under he actually was appointed in under Obama. He was in during his administration. He wasn't doing the same dumb shit that he's doing now. But it's like
the lobbyists didn't get to him until now. Until then,
looks like it. So it's like this spirals off into another conversation about how much better I think a lot of things would be if dark money was out of politics, because if corporations couldn't donate, then a lot of you wouldn't have a lot of politicians set certain things to pay back those donations they received on the campaign trail, so on and so forth. Like I said, another conversation, but yeah, like every decision that's come out of the FCC regarding a lot of things, this administration have made no sense whatsoever. I'm even still trying to see from a corporate aspect how slowing down the spread of a certain service would actually help corporations. I mean, I know off the bat they're first going to have to pay like certain fees and stuff like that to get things set up, especially in a rural area. But it's like when you're looking at the overall picture, without revealing too much of my history and past or Khan's past, we both have had jobs where we had to sell communication and entertainment services to people. So it's like so if you do this, like people who have done it before, you know that like after a certain pocket of service, there's no new customers. Like the only thing you're going to get is either returning customers, or if you're able to buy out another company that was in another area, then you take over that zone. But there's no new customers after that. So the only thing you can do from that point is you can keep on raising the bill on your current customers, or you can try to develop new services to package on top of those existing customers, because you don't have any new customers basically.
Yeah.
So it's like you would think that they would want to like expand out, and this is coming from a person who have sold services to rural customers as well. You would think that they would want to expand out to these customers that are out in these areas, like hit the untapped market. And it's like after you pay for those services, after you pay for, I know it's going to be expensive, but after you pay for it, it's eventually going to pay for itself with the new windfall of customers you're going to get. At least that's the way I'm seeing it in my head. So I don't understand any of this that's going on. Like sometimes when you're looking at some of the things they're rolling out, it's almost like it just feels like it's almost like some elitists, they want to be shitty to poor people. Like they're getting their rocks off or something like that, because I don't see anybody who's benefiting from this sort of thing.
Well, not to beat up on an ISP, but interestingly enough, right? So I think Comcast, they just announced like whatever they made for their monthly, for stocks and so forth.
Oh, before you continue, when I said that line, I'm not talking about the ISPs themselves. I'm talking about the FCC. I don't get what company, if any company at all, is benefiting from these sort of decisions. But go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that. Yeah, we're going to go into that. But, they had a huge loss, right? They had losses this year. Not a huge loss, but losses, basically. Like, they made bad decisions like Cats, right? The movie. Huge loss. And I'm sure, that hit their stocks. And I'm sure Doolittle, which just came out, which is also on the studio, Universal, is going to be a loss, right? So you got to look at it like this. So these companies are... you got losses there, and then you're trying to set up streaming services and all these other stuff, and you have customers leaving. So what do they do to offset a lot of these normal costs? They start raising internet. So this is where the raising of bills and all this other stuff comes. But at the same time, the FCC is supposed to be in place to help mandate these things. So you say, hey, guess what? You've taxed or you've raised your bill too much for your people. You have to find another way of getting that money, right? And unfortunately, when you have the FCC who are in the pockets of a lot of these, telecoms and ISPs and all these other groups, they're not going to be on the side of you. They're going to be on the side of them because they're, of course, getting lobbied, which, of course, comes into a whole different issue that we'll probably cover another week, which is the lobbying system, which is just horrible and just destroys us as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree that I know that a lot of these businesses themselves have a lot of money. A lot of these ISPs are making in billions of dollars. They're making a lot of money, but unfortunately, they're in charge of what's needed from our standpoint in terms of us sending our signal from one here to another. Right? You want to keep playing those games. You want to be able to view your email. You want to be able to even use your cell phone.
Question. I don't mean to cut you off, but. Do you feel something like the internet should be government controlled and free for all, or do you believe it should stay on the capitalism-wise on the free market?
That's kind of weird. I guess the idea I will go with, so here's the problem. If you do it government controlled, then you need to give a bunch of money to a specific group to mandate and do all that stuff. And they're going to charge an arm and a leg, right? So we're basically buying back all the pipes and all the internet that's the ISPs have laid, and then they're going to be in charge of upgrading and making sure we're expanding, right? And they're going to charge our government a ton of money, right? Ton of money, because I don't know if anybody understands anything about government spending. You could get a group that'll say, we'll sell you pens. And for whatever reason, the pen is 5 cents, but they'll sell it for like $10, and it makes no sense. But they're selling it for that because they can, because guess what? That's the group that has the actual contract, and that's how much it costs. By their
Which
contract.
Also will lead into our conversation that we were just talking about. But go ahead.
Yes. Part of me wants it to be that point, but I think it has to stay with the ISPs. But the FCC has to do a better job of regulating and controlling the ISPs. That's the idea that I'm with. So I'm with the current system. I just want the FCC to
just want better regulations.
Yes. Yeah, that's where I'm at in terms of it. Because I would love the government to regulate it, right? So that everybody gets the same, everything is there. You have all the speeds. This is your highs. These are your lows. It's available in all areas. This is how much it costs. Caps. Yeah, no caps. These type of things. But let's be honest, that's not going to happen.
I feel so bad for the rural people.
Yeah, I know. So one last. Go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead. I was going to go. No. It's one last question. It's one last question I have, but. So the last question is this, right? So we're looking at expansion through wired services, fiber, right? But now we're moving to a new age where 5G is a thing. This is through towers. So therefore, we're using wireless, and now 5G in some ideas may be the answer to a lot of expansion, and at least getting us to where we need to be in terms of services. Now, of course, 5G is not perfect. Farther away you are from the tower, the lower the signal quality, which means just lower the speeds, right? So if you got a tower like right outside your house, you could get like a gig easy. If the tower is say like a block down, you're probably looking at like 300, 500 megabits, right? So the farther you're away, the slower your speeds. What do you feel about? Do you think that we need to go into 5G? And do you think there's enough studies in terms of health risks for 5Gs, putting towers everywhere? So what's your thoughts on 5G?
I think 5G, just like 8K and stuff like that, I think it's just rushing just to have something new and shiny.
Okay.
Because like a lot of we don't even have full 4G all over the United States yet. So yeah, there's a lot of there's some areas that don't even have 3G. Yeah. So like I think it's one of those things once again where it's going to be spotty at best when they start putting it in. Like some places are not even going to have actual 5G, but they'll still claim it is, just like what they were doing with 4G.
Yeah.
So far, they said that there hasn't, from the articles I was reading, they said there's no proof that there's side effects or ill health effects.
Yeah.
That'll come from the waves. But like everything you said, like everything else, like you just brought up, like if there's no long-term testing,
exactly.
Basically we're just the guinea pigs again.
Exactly.
It's like
it's like smoke. It's like smoking, right? Everybody was smoking back in the 50s. It was cool. It was all right. Nah, don't worry. Surgeon General says smoking is safe. You're good. You're good. And now you see cancer all over the place for it, right? So go ahead.
Yep. When some sort of brain defect shit gets on the rise, then it'll be like, oh, it's the 5G towers that are doing it like 10 or 15 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always bullshit.
But you got to think about it. This was one of the things that, of course, that stopped nuclear, right? When we were thinking about going and putting nuclear reactors and, having nuclear everywhere, which would have changed the efficiency of how we use energy. That was one of the problems, especially, you got Chernobyl, which is the bad side of it, which everybody's like, oh, we don't want to be the next Chernobyl. So,
I'm kind of glad nuclear didn't take off.
Okay.
It is very true that, like, I take a lot of people's words for face value, like a lot of scientists and stuff who said that if we had actually embraced nuclear energy, we would be flying the spaceships and shit now and, like, charting space and everything. Yeah. We would have probably figured out how to make the warp drive and all other shit, type of shit like that. But it's like downfalls to using it. It's like it creates so much waste, and we already don't even have enough place to put the regular trash and shit that we make as people now. So it's like there's waste. There's also the side effects is if a plant blows up, like there's bad things that can happen, like Chernobyl that you just brought up. Yeah. So it's and people are fuck ups. Like it's people half-ass shit all the time. There's gonna be one person at the plant who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. He's gonna fuck it up for everybody. So it's like, I think this is showing my age here, but I don't care. For all the people who watched Gremlins back in the day, when like the old man came and he got Gizmo and he was just like you just aren't ready. I feel that way about people with a lot of shit. There are certain things they're just not ready for, especially if it has this much responsibility to it.
Gotcha. So a lot of people are talking about like, oh, it'll be ugly. We'll have radio towers everywhere. I mean, we got wires everywhere now, right? Now, a lot of ISPs and all have been trying to do better things, like putting everything in the ground. So you got one little post, and that's all you see, which is a lot better. In somebody's house, unluckily, somebody gets it. But that's basically what you're going to see. I think 5G will probably, as time goes by, technologies get better. We'll probably be able to make it instead of a huge tower, it'll be a lot smaller and it'll be micro. But I kind of like the idea of what Comcast was doing, where they were basically putting modems. Every modem, one of their modems they were putting into people's houses, was also working as a mobile hotspot. I kind of like that idea. Awesome. Yeah, so that way you're, just by being a customer, you're already giving people who don't have at least access to it, that where they could use it, and then you got your phones and all that use the wireless instead of the towers, and that quality, we'll flip a coin on that one, whether it's better or worse, than a regular tower. But there's different ways I think we can improve our internet outside of lines. So it'll be interesting to see how we go. But I do agree that this needs to be mandated. We do want to give kickbacks to those companies, but we got to also watch out what kickbacks we do, and that they're actually upholding what is responsible of them to get that kickback, right? Don't say, oh, we started to put in fiber in this area, they get the money, and then they never complete it. Like, oh yeah, it's more expensive, and they just cut back, but they got a tax break, or they got money.
So you're basically saying don't pull a Motorola.
Yeah.
They are the fucking kings of that shit. Yeah. I'm still laughing like Philadelphia spent all their fucking money to get a Motorola was supposed to bring Wi-Fi to the city. They didn't do jack shit. That shit never worked.
Nope.
Motorola took the money. It was like deuces.
Yep. It happens. But that's where these groups come into validating that the work is actually being done. Go ahead.
It just surprised me how much work they used to get as a third-party service or the companies when they had this long track record of horrible execution, but people would still always come to them.
That's because they control a lot of the equipment. And when you own a market share of equipment that everybody's using, then you have to kind of give them money until something comes along that replaces it, right? If all your devices are Motorola, like the NFL, all their devices, all their equipment was all Motorola. If everything is Motorola, then what are you supposed to do, right?
So you just deal with shit.
Yeah, you kind of got to, because it's like until you find something better. I know you're laughing, but it is what it is. It is.
Like, yo, it's not working. Give us about 3 more months.
Wow.
It's still not working. We don't know what to tell you, then, Chief. You took the money, though. Oh shit! What about what Elon Musk is doing right now with launching more and more of the satellites for wireless internet?
I don't know how well that's going to work. I'm curious because I know.
I'm very curious as well. I know
Japan,
a lot of astronomers.
I was going to say Japan. So Japan has wireless satellites to provide internet, but they're used more of a backup. So let's say a pipe or something goes down, they will utilize then the satellites for internet. It's more of a backup system, but I'm not sure. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of astronomers who's already complaining, saying it's going to pollute the visual airspace for astronomy and stuff like that. The sheer amount that he wants to put up there to actually make it a strong network, strong reliable network. So yeah, it's interesting.
By the way, when you look at 2018 and you looked at speeds themselves, America came in at number 15, averaging 32.89 megabits per second. Number one, believe it or not, was Taiwan at 85. But it makes you wonder, because it's like, is a lot of that based on like 5G? Are they looking at everything that provides internet? So your phone, your ISPs, your lines, your fiber, your coax, all this stuff. I wonder if they're looking at all of it to get to that, because it doesn't seem like...
That's a good question.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that should be, like, we should be as high. Believe it or not, in 2018, we were ranked 5. We actually fell to 15, so we're actually going lower, which is kind of crazy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The free market fixes everything, boys.
Yeah.
It'll cause creativity.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while your ass is getting salmonella from unregulated beef and pork, the free market will fix that too.
We'll get into that we'll talk about that another day. Let's move to... No, you're good. Let's move to, we'll look at regulations like next week or so forth. But let's go into what we started with earlier in the podcast, which is privacy, right? Or lack of, right? So currently right now, privacy for the most part is dead, right? You got drones that go out and do facial recognition and keep an eye out on us. You got cameras on every corner that are recording and taping everything you do. You know, all your internet traffic, everything you do basically from an internet standpoint is documented somewhere and accessible by government or law enforcement. Everything is changing, right, in terms of privacy. So my question for you first is this: the lack of privacy an issue just for the old? And before we go into that question, I'll explain it to you in the sense of this. The people who seem to be fighting for the most about privacy are people of our generation and slightly older. It seems now of this new generation, they've done a very good job of destroying the idea of privacy as more young people share on social. It's more of a social media generation where they're sharing everything. You know, they're showing, oh, I was on this trip. A lot of the shit is fake, fake lies, but still, it's all about getting clout and noticed and praised for something that you do. So you share everything, where you are, what you do, what you eat, who you're with, everything, right? And you share it with the world. It doesn't matter. The new age seems to be away from privacy. They don't care about privacy as much, while the new generation is more like, you see, the Patriot Act is taking away all of our rights and so forth. And, they seem like they're for privacy. So to this point, is the lack of privacy just an issue for older generations, say our generation and older?
No, I think it's an issue for everyone, but I feel that where the gap is that since younger people were born into a digital era, I think a lot of them just don't understand that it's an issue until it actually bites them in the ass. Yeah. You will literally see people flash guns and drugs and shit in the Instagram live and then look confused when a policeman shows up to actually arrest them. Yeah. So it's real weird too, because it's like a lot of us old, quote unquote, old heads will actually say, like, you don't want to do that, because then it'll be like, shut up, old head. But it's like, but yeah, I do feel it affects everybody. I just feel that unfortunately, a lot of youth, it must be because they're young. Like, we were lucky in a way that we didn't have this type of technology because, like, even though there's a lot of people out here who chastise the youth, like, a lot of people our age was doing dumb shit, like, at that age as well. It's just that everything wasn't online like it is now.
Yep.
So yeah, it affects them heavily as well. It's just that a lot of them just don't see the ramifications until certain things happen. Like, they go to apply for a job, and then, like, it's shown that they were, then all of a sudden it's pulled up they were in blackface, like, saying racial slurs and shit on tape stuff on their Snapchat and stuff like that. Like, they don't get the fact that all that stuff comes to light.
Yep. So yeah,
it definitely affects everybody.
Affects everybody, but the way that the young generation is, though, wouldn't privacy go away as we go deeper and deeper into new generations? Because you have a generation like us who say we are all about privacy, but then you have the next few generations that are saying, no, we don't care about privacy, let's advertise everything. And they're the ones who are raising kids who are now more in the digital age. So therefore, privacy then doesn't it go away in another 10, 15 years?
Oh yeah. It's going to be completely gone. Like, and the worst part is, like, dumb shit like this is going to keep happening to people, and they're going to always be confused every time it happens.
So,
like, and like, when somebody from that generation does get angry and points out to everybody, it'll be like 3 days before some distraction comes up, and they'll be mad talking about something else altogether. I think in 10 to 15 years, maybe even shorter, I think the whole Black Mirror situation that China's going through right now, I think that's going to be the United States with a whole social system score and everything like that.
Oh, we'll get into that.
The difference is going to be, though, is that the Chinese people are actually forced into it. We're going to welcome it. It's going to slowly creep into the point that it's just going to seem normal, and by the time it's going around, like, people are actually going to be embracing it like it's something fun and shit like that. They're not even going to, like, take the ramifications of it, and they're just going to, like, with everything, they're just going to sleep in it. They're going to, like, take certain things away slowly but surely until you didn't even recognize that they've taken certain things away from you. Like, this shit's just going to all be normal.
So real quick, as a privacy person, what do you think should be, what's the line for privacy? Where should it be?
I think when you do things, they should, if you, as you were saying before, like, I'm all about regulation. I'm all about regulation. And I think when there's certain things that happen, like, every company should have to ask for your permission to receive certain types of data. Like, it shouldn't be hidden, like, side of the terms of service and shit that they know people aren't going to read. It should pop up saying, like, if you prefer to use this website, then you are preferring then we have an option to use this, blah 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 blah. So at least if the person's willing to sign on to a certain site to do something, they're going to know ahead of time this is happening to them. But then there's, like, there's a lot of places, like, from what I've seen nowadays, they don't even have to do that. It's just like, it's just become a thing now where it's like, no matter what service you're using, they're basically chopping your shit up and just selling it to other people.
Yeah,
so,
before you used to have the Patriot Act where everything is a terroristic threat, so we have to get access. But but no, that's a good question. So when I say the line of privacy, the point I'm saying is this, right? You go home, you go in your house, you have a conversation with your wife, you do whatever you do. Should the phone company and other people have access to what's said inside your house because you have a phone next to you? Is that all allowed within privacy? Because we do look at it from a terroristic standpoint. We listen to phone calls from before. Remember, we used to only listen to keywords, and I'm using air quotes, in terms of privacy. Like, when you're on a phone call, they'll listen to it if a specific keyword is said. Then we'll listen to a conversation or we'll search it. Should they have access to all these things? Is that going beyond privacy because you're inside your home, or because you have equipment inside your home? There's no issue with it. They should have full access with everything you say, do, record, and so forth.
Yeah, I think you should actually, I think it should go back to trigger words. I think your home should still be at least the one place that you still have your privacy at.
Demark for privacy.
Okay.
And I agree.
I just, it's interesting that you brought this up because I just found out recently that when Apple was doing their big thing of how they just kept saying no to the government and the FBI when they wanted access to iPhones, and they were basically saying loud and clear that they're not going to break their encryption or sell their customers out. I found out that they actually had left the back door open. Like, they made it easy so the FBI could actually still go in and retrieve any information. So basically, they comply with the government without actually vocally complying with them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they still get to look like heroes to the public.
Wow.
So, that's interesting.
So, in terms of privacy itself, because we went too early, I guess the only way to have privacy then is you have to literally just go in your house and shut off everything that's internet. That's the only way you can really have privacy, because it's not going to come from basically any of these companies and so forth. Nope. Privacy, you can say basically privacy is dead.
Yeah.
Okay. So with other privacy, you sent an article which was very interesting, which goes into what we were talking about before. So we have drones and different things that use facial recognition. And you sent one about how program Clear AI was building databases based on basically identity. But it was, the AI was falsely representing some of the data itself.
Yeah, because there's basically there's a duplicate thing, because it's like there are people who look similar to others.
Yeah.
And there's people who have just similar facial features, because like a thing that says DNA can only create so many different variables when creating human features.
Yeah.
So it's like the machine learning gets confused sometimes, so it's going to make false positives and basically match people up to crimes and stuff like they didn't do. And we can go way back to like that shit that happened when the Google photo recognition thing thought the ape was a black man at one point in time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird shit like that is going to happen. Of course, this is since a lot of law agencies and stuff are using this AI. That's another thing, unfortunately, for you as a citizen to actually have to worry about. Like, you could just be out chilling, getting an ice cream cone with your woman or like your kids, and because the clear view, there can be just some cop who just thinks you look suspicious. Yeah. Run your face through the system, and it's just like, oh, this guy's wanted for this and this in another state, and the next thing you know, they're up on you with guns drawn. Yeah. You ain't did shit. Yeah. But that's unfortunately how it's panning out.
So do you think that if they were to change anonymity, so basically anytime a person was to, say, post anything, you would be able to get their name, their address, basic information. Do you think that people would strive then, therefore, for more privacy, if that was the case? Do you think anonymity basically gives a false sense of privacy?
I do agree.
Oh, okay.
I feel that the same way that that one system back in the day where you could just type somebody's name into Google and they would pull up all their information. I forgot what the company was, but you had to literally contact the company to tell them that you didn't want your information on there. Yeah. I feel that this sort of thing should be the same way. Like, if you're a criminal that's in the system or whatever, and they're trying to catch you, that's one thing. But randos like me and you, like, our information and stuff shouldn't be all up on the screen like that and accessible. Even if they say right now that it's only accessible to law companies, we know how easily these places are hacked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't believe at this point that no big corporation or no startup or anybody actually has a secure data system that can't be breached anymore. So
then that comes into the other problem with privacy. When you use all this stuff, you open yourself to others basically stealing that information and using it against you. Yeah.
Yes. And that's another thing that sucks as well. It's like there's some businesses that won't even allow you to use their services unless you actually attach one of your bank cards, your credit cards, or something like that to their platform. Yeah. It's like you can't even just go and make your purchase and be done with it. You have to actually store their card in your system, which is crazy, especially since these motherfuckers will not take the time to have a strong security system. And then when shit happens, they're just like, oh, we were on top of it, but meanwhile your shit's floating on the dark web to to anybody who wants to just download the fucking note file. That sort of shit pisses me off. I think that the way that things are going, like at this point in time, I don't even think with regulation shit can be railroaded and set right. So I think the least thing you can do is just make people whole. Like if you're a Facebook or a Google or whatever like that, I think you should at least have to share whatever it is you get per person. You have to share part of that revenue with that person that you're selling their data from.
Yep.
I think that's the least you can do for something that could potentially fuck somebody's life up in the future.
So let's stay away. And by the way, your mic is still making that scratchy noise again. But
sorry about that.
No, there you go. Now it's a lot better. So let's move back to what you were starting with before, which you were talking about the social system, right? And this is something I've been wanting to cover for quite some time, right? So China is not the first country basically to do it. There was other countries that had social systems before China, a lot smaller countries. So for those who are unfamiliar with social system, what it means, and there's been episodes and TV shows that have done it. The Orville did a really good episode on social system, as you stated before. Black Mirror did a really good episode on the social system. There's many other TV shows that have done it that look at sci-fi. So basically, what social system, for those who don't know, is this. Basically, think of it like almost like a credit score, right? Where you know how you have credit scores in the States, and that credit scores will dictate whether or not you're capable of getting a specific loan. Like you want to go get a car loan, your interest rates, or whether you can even get a loan is dictated by basically your credit score, which basically tells banks how good you are at paying back people. Basically, that's what a credit score is, right? Yeah, you pay back your loans. No, you don't. This is your credit score. So social system is more based on a social system, right? It's a 3-digit score like the other system. And with it, it's based on multiple things that basically go into it. So it could be something as simple as how often do you go to work? How often do you use your sick days, right? So how often are you late? It's little things, right? And it could be as stupid as how often do you call your mother? How often do you post negative or harmful tweets? How often do you hate or like a picture? So it's basically every aspect of the social network, right? From what you do as a person socially has basically a system or goes into a system, and they give you a score based on it. And a lot of people are like, well, that's cool. A lot of people are no. But the one thing that Black Mirror kind of showed was that it forces people to be false, right? Because nobody wants to have a low score. So no matter what, even if you're ugly or fat or you're an asshole, or I don't like you the way you're creepy, I don't want you touching my kids, whatever you could think of in terms of something where you would be negative, it forces the person to be positive, right? So I'm walking down the street, somebody's not paying attention, they run into me and they pour coffee on me, right? Oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry too. You don't want to come back and say, you fucking asshole, you don't want to be evil or whatever. You gotta be like, oh yeah, it's okay, it's fine. And then everybody gets a nice score and you walk away, right? Because if you're, God forbid, you have a reaction to, say, score, that person who was the initiator of it could still give you a low score. And you could go down. And then people in the area who see how you react, not knowing the situation, can still give you a low score. So think about it from a point of, I am a African male in America who is basically sitting down, minding my business. I go to get something, somebody gives me or calls the cops on me for whatever reason, because that's what the problems are in America, skin tone. Don't understand why, but it is. And the cops come in, I have a reaction. From that reaction, I could get a lower score. I'm already getting a lower score from the store for being there, for being that. I could get a low reaction for the cops acting the way they are, and I could get a reaction from the people seeing me as the cops as I react to those said cops. It's not a perfect system by any ways, but it is something that we're leaning towards, as Two Beers was saying. China is enforced, so people who go into the system early get a higher boost to their credit score. So it's like, I want to do it because I get a boost. So I think the last question really is, well, okay, they give you a credit score. Why do I care, right? And this is where I have a problem. This credit score affects everything you do, right? You want to go, we talked about the ISPs in the internet. You want to get a 1 gig service. Well, guess what? 1 gig services are only available to people with a 400 or higher credit social system score. So therefore you can't. Because your credit score is at about, let's say 250, you're only able to get 5 megabits per second up instead of the gig service. Oh, you want to have coffee? I'm sorry, we can't serve you coffee because we only serve people with a credit score of 300 or higher, because your credit score is so low, you must be a problem. So therefore we don't want you in our store. So you can't even come into our store. Oh, you don't like China, you want to get out? Well, guess what? Your credit score is not high enough, so you can't even fly to another country or cross over the border because your credit score is too low and you're prohibited from doing so. For a lot of people,
you stuck here.
Yes. So
you better shovel that shit.
Yep. So for a lot of people, religious people look at stuff like market abuse, controlling. No matter which way you look at it, it goes in terms of basically a outside organization controlling what you can and cannot get. And this time it's based off of a mathematical algorithmic score that's dependent upon not only your company, but how others view you. So we go into America where people say that's not happening. That's a lie. America is already happening. You just don't realize it. A lot of companies, especially in Silicon Valley, a lot of these companies, they require a lot of stuff. For instance, to get a job, a lot of jobs require you now to have a Twitter account, to have a LinkedIn account, to have multiple social media accounts in which they scan and they view. And that is a major deterrent from you getting a job. You can be top of your class, very good, and because you have no social history in terms of social media, you will be denied jobs because they are unable to see what type of person, and I'm using air quotes, you are. There are places go ahead.
I was going to say, there used to be a point in time when people used to, and this goes back into the whole things being normalized. There used to be a time and place where if a company actually started doing stuff like tracking you online and viewing stuff that you did on Twitter, it's like, oh, this person's a party person. We don't want that type of atmosphere here, and you would get fired. Then everybody would come down and bash the company, like saying, like, why are you spying on citizens in their private life? Like, what does it matter if they go party after a hard days of work? Doesn't matter if they have pictures of themselves drinking and stuff like that because they're out having fun. They're not on the job. But now it's actually, as you're saying before, like a lot of places actually require you to have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and it's actually now considered normal for them to fire you or not hire you based on the type of stuff that they see on stuff that you would do in your own personal time that has nothing to do with the business. So it's almost putting you in a certain type of sense of you're always on the clock, even when you're not getting paid. Like, they're always watching you, so you always have to behave. It's real weird.
And I remember, like you were saying before, there used to be stories where, remember, it was the airline worker, and when people jumped on, they were like, well, it's because she had her airline shirt, so therefore she was representing the company. But as you stated before, it started to change to, it doesn't matter, let's get rid of you early because, hey, you still represent the company no matter what.
Yep.
And for those who don't know, life insurance companies basically will look at your premiums could actually be adjusted based on your social media feed, so that Uber drivers can actually deny people based on social media feed. Airbnbs will deny people now based on social media feeds. So you have to understand that, oh, well, that's fine. I could just not post anything. That seems fine. But at the same time, is that really fixing the issue? I mean, let's be honest. For most people who are like serial killers and other things, they're pretty smart people. They're going to create a false sense of identity, right? Like most people do on social media. It's very rare you find a social media feed where a person is 100, right? They're showing, I mean, you got people who rent out jets to take pictures, to make lies about how they're flying and, you know, going to all these different countries, and they got jets, and they'll rent out different clothing and jewelry just as show and act like they have money. You know, this is a false sense, and people usually only like to post the good stuff, right? Or, and if it's the bad stuff, it's usually to get sympathy, right? Like, oh, my husband left me, he was cheating. Oh, let me get 100 likes from people, and let's social bomb, you know, my husband's accounts because he's a scumbag. But you know, that's what I wanted out of it. It's just the way it is, and this is a sad thing. This is a scary thing. People just don't understand it. It's a scary thing. Like, think about this, man. I know a lot of people are like, it's not that bad. But it's by an algorithm, which we've already talked about, is not perfect. It doesn't truly show who you are as a person, right?
Nope.
It doesn't. If it's based on people's views of you, and it's views from a place where people's views are jaded. We already showed that people hate people because of the color of skin, because of the sex, because of the age, because of everything. So how do you think that,
like a certain cartoon?
Yes, because you bought an Xbox or a PlayStation over the other. It's madness. It is madness. And these are the people who are going to decide whether or not you could get a loan for your college, whether or not you're able to get married, whether or not you're able to take a vacation, whether or not
you can
have kids, or even worse, whether or not you could go in and get specific treatments for illnesses. People don't think about these things.
Nope.
You can't go to this hospital. This hospital is only for people with a score of 500 or higher. You have to go to an urgent care hospital or a rinky-dink hospital for your help, because you know we don't want people with low scores in our hospital. People don't think about these things. They think it's not possible, but this is coming.
Yeah. Like, imagine for all the people who have a hard 9 to 5, who have people who get their rocks off just by belittling you and treating you bad, and like just basically using a position of power to like to treat you, to basically submit you to their will. Imagine that going on for 24 hours. Like, you're always on eggshells. You can't be yourself. You have to like or even better yet, the insaneness that is Twitter, where nobody lives in a glass house. Everybody's perfect. Everybody's judging somebody 24/7. The insanity that is Twitter. Imagine those people getting to control your life score, that basically will depict on what type of school you can go to, what type of school your kids can get into, the type of places you can shop at, the type of car you can drive, where you can actually live at, the type of health care that you can get. Imagine that all being determined by people who are all smelling their own farts, thinking they're better than you.
Yep. It's scary, man.
If that doesn't scare you, it will.
It's scary, and a lot of people don't. A lot of the problem is people go, well, it isn't going to happen. It's happening, folks. Trust me. And that right now, keep in mind that the people who are instituting this right now, it's not even the government. These are private companies that are instituting this. So there's no regulation. There's no regulation. That's scary.
Yep. A lot of people should have been turning their face sideways when, like, all of a sudden companies that don't even have to do with finances were basically wanting you to do a credit check to get a job at certain companies, a credit score check.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you need to know my credit score?
Well, we know why. It's how likely you'll steal or perform. Yeah,
it's still bullshit. But it's like when certain personal information happens, like, I've always taken it as you can look at it as a sense of trying to control you, but I look at it as more ways to keep you down and not act, and keep you from actually being able to be successful, to rise up out of the ranks. Like, ladder that exists for you to climb up, they basically take one of those ladders away by taking more options and adding more rules, or as some people like to say, they keep moving the goalposts. one thing that I have to say about what you were just saying about how a lot of people don't see things. This you'll probably hear me say this on this podcast a lot, but one of the things that always pissed me off, and I was talking to a good friend of mine that I went to school with, because I was hashing it out with him as well, and I was just like, one of the things that always pissed me off, whether it has to do with race, religion, like anything, the man who's currently running our country, with people, with humans, shit always has to get super bad to the point of no return for people to finally like open their eyes up and be like, shit, we have to do something. Even though there's clear warning signs, there's flags everywhere, there's a clear path being laid out before you that shit's gonna get bad if we keep running down this path. But it's like, no, we don't have to worry about that. That's the way that it can happen. In the words of the great Blade, motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. Like, it's when it gets to the point where it's impossible, that's when everybody wants to try to turn shit around. So like that's
a good quote. That's a good quote.
Pisses me off, man.
That's a very good quote. I gotta use that one. Motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Ugh.
I agree with you. And I had this conversation. I don't know if it was on the podcast or it was on one of my streams, and I always was talking about being a kid today, right? And the social, and like how before somebody like me would say, turn off the phone, stop listening, you're crying, they're screaming at you online, just don't look at it, delete it, blah, 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 blah. But people gotta understand this. When kids say like stupid stuff about other kids on social, it becomes part of them. Like, it's major. If somebody says, oh, Cynthia sleeps around with the whole school, she's a whore, she sleeps around with the whole school, or Timmy likes to cheat all the time, or he's a racist. Even if that's not true, it's documented, right? Think about it later on when you're trying to get a job and this social scores up, how they look back on these little things, whether true or not. These statements have an effect on your future. And it's dumb. This is the dumbest shit. This is the dumbest shit, but this is the shit that kids have to deal with. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's nothing. You got to take your mind out of the generation and the ideas that you know. And you have to look at it from today's day. This is real stuff, folks. This social system is real, and it's coming. And all you people who keep thinking that it's not going to be an American thing, it's coming. The whole idea I said of freedom is dead. Privacy is dead. Freedom is dead. They keep taking away most and more of your rights, and this isn't one of those, oh, use your conspiracy theory. No, this is the truth. This is the truth. You need to look at everything that people do. What is given? What is yours? What is not yours? And you have to look at it. Everything is changing, man. Unfortunately, there's not enough people from the old school of thinking that's going to fight these same fights come 5 years, even 10 years in the future. Mm-hmm. So this social system that China, look at it now, because that's what we're going to be in a few years. And if you're like, oh, it's not coming, it's coming. We're already doing it. You just don't know about it.
Be like, what about you, Beards and Con? You guys are gonna be living through it as well. We old.
Yeah.
We ain't got much time left on this earth.
That is true. This
shit ain't gonna bother us the same way it's gonna bother y'all.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. All right, I think we got through this, which is awesome. So we're going to go real quickly into Stadia, and I'm going to real quickly throw a shameless plug in. I want to say, for those who are listening, this show is recorded on Twitch and it's done live every Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern. Come in, join the discussions, join the chat, pop in, say hello, what's up, we like you, we don't like you, whatever. Just come in and say what's up and join in the conversation. And with that stated, let's look at Stadia, right? So an article came out basically about Stadia losing a lot of their early adopters, right? It was an article that came out by the Business Insider, and they were looking at Stadia as a whole and how basically they're not growing and they're losing a lot of their customers themselves, right? They're getting impatient. There's not a lot of good games. There's a lot of issues, things of that nature. And now with Stadia, they're trying to make deals. They're trying to get more companies to make more games so that they have exclusives, because as we discussed beforehand, exclusives will make or break buying and investing into something, right? We covered that in the PlayStation 5, Xbox 5. We talked about how important exclusives were. Not from exclusive from a system like their generation, but exclusives that bring people to wanting to buy your system itself, right? And right now they're doing deals. They're trying to do deals with, we cover, Valve and Steam. Valve and Steam. And then now with Verizon, you sign up for certain Verizon 1 gig, you get 3 months basically of Stadia, which is pretty much the same what they were giving out for the early adopters. It was their Premier Edition, right? That they paid $130 where you get Stadia for like 3 months. So Stadia. Do you think this Verizon partnership will help? How would you change Stadia's appeal to the mass market?
I think Verizon partnership will help, but it's not going to help in the way that they want it to help. The thing that sucks the most about this Verizon partnership is that I think that if they went all in, this could be a game changer for them.
Okay.
Like the Fios box, actually, you can actually cast to it. Like if you have an Android device, like and you try to you pull up the cast option, the cast to your Chromecast, like the Fios box will actually show up as something to cast to, but it'll just say this service not available. So it just shows you that the connection is actually there for you if you want to actually cast to it. So if you could actually, if they actually, I don't know how much money would have to change hands to make this happen, but just imagine that just right off the bat for the whole Fios cable user base who have their TV boxes in their home, you automatically can have that turn into an install base for Stadia. So basically, they could say, and on Verizon's half, they could say like, "Hey, your cable box is also a game console. Like with us, you actually get access to Google Stadia." So it's like I think it's a big opportunity being missed by them not doing this side of this whole deal. They've dropped so many multiple balls on the launching of Stadia, to how they're showing it to everybody, to the whole games part of it, to the whole selling it as launch when it's really still early access. It's insane right now that xCloud has more games than Stadia. It's free in beta. So
yeah,
I still feel that they'll eventually get it right within 2 years. At that point, I feel that xCloud's going to launch. It's going to be like super polished and strong already. PlayStation Now will relaunch at that time, and that's going to be super strong. And they're already going to have tons of games and stuff on it. And on top of that, they'll both be allowing you to cloud save your saves so you can actually play offline. At this point, like I don't see what they can do. Like if they do their thing, like I said with the Fios box, I think they could. I think that could actually turn the tide for them and actually get their game into a user base hands who aren't even thinking about a console at this point. I honestly don't know where they go at from this point.
Okay, fix your mic again.
It's such a major hurdle if you think about them just trying to actually fix all the problems that they've set for themselves.
Gotcha. I think I agree with you. I think Verizon is going to be a major boost, but it's not the boost. It's like Disney Plus, right? Where everybody was getting Disney Plus. You get Disney Plus for free. You look at all the shows that are there, and then you look at it and say, well, the content I really want is not going to be available for another few months, so I'm just going to cancel. And if, when that content comes out, maybe I'll sign up. So you're going to see a huge increase and then a huge fall, right? And I believe that's what's going to happen with Google. In terms of fixing Google, first off, I think their plan that they have is incorrect. This is a similar plan to Xbox Live. I mean, not Xbox Live. Oh my goodness. To Live. Live. It was called Live back in the day. Who was trying to do the same thing. I think Microsoft had the right idea with the Netflix of gaming. From a Stadia standpoint, I think that's what they should do. I think they should go a route of pay us $8.99 per month, get access to all of our games, or pay nothing and then you get demos or something of each of the games, and then you can buy games if you want to keep and so forth, right? There has to be something, maybe, I don't know if it's a free game or something, or a free demo of a game where you get to play something. It's got this whole, you buy games and then pay to buy games is dumb, right? Why am I paying for 4K when you don't even force half of the people to do 4K properly? And when it is done, you're blaming them for not doing it properly. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that model that you just said actually works. Like, if it is a subscription fee, then they actually get to basically, like Netflix of gaming. They basically get to stream play all the games in the library. But if it's the free option, then they just buy what games they want to actually keep.
I think I agree. So it should be. I don't think you should give all your platforms. You need to get more games. That's number one, right? You should be making deals with every old company to get as much old games as you can. Like I go to Amazon, and they have a whole bunch of free games. They're old. A lot of them are way old games, but there's a lot of games, right? There's plenty of indie developers that you could go to say, you know what, we'll fund or we'll give you a little bit of money to help bring your games to Stadia and be exclusive to Stadia. We could do that. That's easy. But the thing is, give us a group of games, rotate those set of games. So don't give us everything on the market, but give us a group of games, right? Some staples, some good games. And then have it so that users can buy those games, but they could buy those games at a fraction of the cost, right? So it's not like, let's say, what's a game? Cyberpunk comes out, right? You can play it on Stadia. The first month you could play it on Stadia, only costs you $10 a month, right? People could buy it. Afterwards, if you want to own it, you want to buy it, you could buy it from Stadia for $15. I know people are going, well, they can't do that. Yes, they can. It's a licensing. It's a licensing fee. It's one game. You're not selling a disc. You're not even selling downloads, right? You're doing licensing. You can do that for a cheap price, and you can, like you stated before, you can suck up costs to get games out earlier. Because you know why? As you do that, if people want these good deals and want to be a subscriber, they'll subscribe to get these good deals. It's like, oh, okay. Well, if I subscribe to Stadia, I can get Cyberpunk for $25, and I own it, as opposed to spending $60. Oh, they got other games? Maybe I'll stay and play a few of these other games that they have. This is what you have to entice people to come onto your platform. You can't tell me that you sell a game for $60 and I have to spend $10 to be able to play it in 4K. That's ridiculous. That's dumb.
Or even the fact that some of their games are actually higher on Stadia than it is.
Yeah, they don't get the deals. Yeah, and then...
I'm like, dog. And then you're actually telling me I'm going to pay more for a game that I'm not even going to own.
And then you get the debacle where you got Borderlands and you don't even have the newest patch. You have a patch from 2 months ago. Your cloud, why are your patches behind? It's just dumb. I'm telling you, they could turn this around so easily. And yes, it's like you said before, when we were first talking about Stadia, whatever, in the first episode, you were talking about making one of the comments that you brought up, that they need to stay and tell people that they'll be there for, 10 years or so. Yeah. And I said, that's crazy. But I agree. But I agree. They do have to make a commitment for loss early on so that they could get revenue later in. And if you do this, if you go out and look at all these new indie people, go out, look at Kickstarters, all these cool games and stuff, and you invest in all these games and all these people, and you bring their games there as exclusive, even if it's only for a year. Shoot, Epic is doing it.
Some of these people had 50 to 75% of their game done.
Yes,
it's like you're right. You hit the nail on the you hit the nail on the coffin. Doesn't sound right for this. You hit the nail on the head. Like they basically have all these options for going out. It's real weird. I know I said before that it feels like nobody that knows anything about gaming is in control of it, but you corrected me on that. But it still feels like that. Yeah. It's like all the stuff they're doing doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No, I mean, who wants to pay $100 for access to a game store of games that are old, and they're paying full prices for it?
Exactly.
All games, you should have a simple price plan: $20 for brand new games, $10 or less for older games. Do sales, and do it from there. $9.99, get in. You just have to have a Stadia membership. You can come in, you could buy the game, or if you don't want to buy the game, you could just spend $10 a month and you could play it within that month.
On top of that, not only are you paying full price for an old game, the old game you're buying doesn't even perform as well as it does the much cheaper version you can buy on a console.
Exactly.
Or on your PC. So it's
you're at the mercy of them updating it and doing other fixes and so forth. I mean,
I really feel a page out of Microsoft's doing the heavy lifting on the latter years of the Xbox One.
Yeah.
They need to go out and it's like, hey, maybe these companies don't understand how your system for streaming works. Maybe you need to get some people over there to help them make this a good transition, to help them out with the fidelity and stuff like that. Just don't be like just throw them under the bus when the 4K isn't working right. Yeah, that's gonna make a lot of devs want to come to develop for you.
Exactly.
It's not our fault, it's theirs.
and I don't know if Game Pass is the right way to go, but it's a good start, right? Right now, what's happening with Stadia, you could say, yeah, we're going to have a whole bunch of games. It takes time to make those new games. You can't look at it and say, oh, yeah, well, we're going to early adopters. Because guess what? New systems, people are still buying that stuff. And people are going to invest now in terms of their systems, whether it's a console, a $500 console, whether it's a graphics card for their PC. And people are going to invest in that. Or if they're going to go with other companies like Microsoft and Sony who are already implementing their own cloud delivery service, what's the purpose of yours? Where are you getting those people? Mm-hmm. Is they already have a lead on you because they have more games than you. So what can you do that will bring those people in? Easy. You get all the new games. You can sell super dirt cheap because it's all licensing. You could give it to them with cloud, which is the same thing, playing your phone, all the same BS. And you could give them a plethora of other games. You just give it to them. Like, hey, yeah, here you go. Here's your games. Yeah, you want to play this? You want to play this? Want to play that? Here's a whole bunch of games. Here's 20 games a month. This is what you get. You get 20 games a month plus one brand new game a month. And we'll do that on Stadia. And we'll give you all games that come out new at a discounted rate. A rate that other people can't compete with.
Honestly, did not expect them to fall on their face this hard.
Oh, I did. I know you didn't because they're Google. I know you didn't because they're Google.
But it's one thing I have been saying. This isn't the same Google of yesteryear, though. You can tell that from the language that they put out, even their own employees turning on them. It's no longer voted the best place to work anymore. Or not in the top 5 or whatever like that anymore. Yeah. And they even recently, I forgot what they call it, the me time that they used to give to people.
Yeah.
They cut that in half. They're going full corporate. It's getting there.
So last question, do you think Stadia came out too early?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, I agree.
I mean, it could have came out now. It should have just been free early access.
Yeah.
It should have been, closed beta or whatever like that. It definitely was not ready for launch in any way, shape, or form.
No, not at all. I agree with you 100% on that. So, in terms of other false companies that basically don't have very good track records for new projects, Sony stated that they're going to officially pull the plug on their View app. I don't think there's any surprise to this. Sony cuts a lot of their programs and a lot of their stuff, probably as much as Google does. Any surprise on View getting cut?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. It's something I figured I'd put in there. It was real quick for View customers, for those who have it. So yeah, and at the end of the month, January 30th, they're going to cut it off. All right, so let's go to the next topic. I didn't think we were going to spend too much time on it. Coming out in terms of comic book news, Patrick Stewart stated that he had a long talk with Kevin Feige in terms of reprising his role, not roles, but his role as Professor X in the MCU. Basically what's coming out of it, he's saying no. And then also in other articles, he also talked about how with Logan, him and Hugh Jackman, they held hands, they cried, and it was basically for those characters, they looked at it as the end. What do you think? Do you think this is all a lie and that we will see Patrick Stewart in some shape or form within the MCU?
Something tells me that he'll probably, especially after having such a long talk with him, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't show up in another role. Like I forgot where I read it at, but it's actually confirmed that Halle Berry will actually show up at one point as another role, not as Storm, but she's actually going to show up in the MCU doing something. So okay. I would not be surprised at all to see Picard, Patrick Stewart show up as playing another character or something like that. I would have liked to have. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let's finish this up.
I was gonna say I would have loved to actually see him reprise his role as Xavier. I can understand if they both symbolically felt Logan was the end to those two characters. But I still would have loved to see him come in there. A lot of people probably would have said that he's way up there in age, so like another person should come in at this point. I have no problem if they want to bring McAvoy back.
Yeah, I like McAvoy.
McAvoy he's a fucking fantastic actor.
Yes, he is.
Don't judge him on the bad movie that he was in.
Yep.
I think with a talented scriptwriter and director, he will give you pound for pound one of the best Xaviers you've probably ever seen on screen.
Yes.
So definitely bring that guy back, but we'll see what they do.
I think the talk is not so much as to get him in the MCU as an ongoing role. I think it's a cameo. It may be a cameo for maybe Deadpool, or it may be a cameo for Doctor Strange Multiverse in the Madness, where real quickly they do a real quick Multiverse of Madness where they real quickly do a nod. Because supposedly a lot of rumors is that we're going to get our first glances of mutants in this whole trailer. A lot of people don't know. They think it might be a reverse House of M, where Black Scarlet Witch basically, creates mutants, which is a possibility. And then at the end, might happen as well. She might say, "No more mutants," and then they go away. Who knows? Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, but or it may just be, like I said, maybe just a cameo for Deadpool, because he likes to throw a lot of jokes. It might be a send-off, right? So it's like, hey, yeah, let's get the whole cast from all the different Marvel movies, and it might be Deadpool transitioning, actually showing a transition from Fox to Marvel as he says bye to the Fox crew, and moves into the new Marvel crew. Who knows? But I think it was more like maybe it's it was asking a cameo. I think at the most out of it, maybe he might have said, no, maybe I don't want to reprise the role, but hey, yeah, you can use some stock footage. I think that might come out of it, especially if they're trying to get a lot of the old cast, and it seems like they're trying to get a lot of old Fox cast, not the new one, which is under McAvoy and Fassbender and the new age of X-Men. So I could see it. I could see it where you could have the cast, and then something happens saying that they do exist, that the time frame is now, but then reverse it and make them all young, like you kind of did with the new cast, but then you recast all different actors for them. I can see something like that. So you have the cast as is, an event happens, they get turned young, they get brought in the world, they're a lot younger, and then you bring in the new X-Men, and from there you still keep the continuity.
You know who also would be an interesting choice for Xavier?
Who's that?
John Malkovich.
He's a little bit old though, but I like it. But that'll be kind of weird though. I must say, Cyclops. I can't do Malkovich, but you know how Malkovich talks, man. That would be a weird choice. Yeah, I think I'm curious to see. I would like to see Stewart and some of the old people, just at least pass the torch in the MCU.
Pass the torch.
Yeah, even if it's only a cameo. I would like to see it. And then the second thing we're going to cover real quickly is, so we got this covered, as you stated, is a lot of times is wrong. Black Panther 2 won't be out until like 2022. So we got 2 years before we see Black Panther 2. I think he might have just started the script or even thinking about the script. But right now, the rumor, and this is coming from a person that was stating that National Treasure 3 was in development, and that Miss Marvel and She-Hulk were in the works with Disney Plus, and this was, of course, before their announcement. They were true. So take it for a grain of salt, but We Got Discovered was reporting basically that Disney is looking to move the mantle of Black Panther onto Shuri, and that Chadwick Boseman is upset with this move, and we don't know how quickly it's going to come. Is this 3 movies down the line? This is 1 movie down the line? We don't know, but your thoughts real quickly on this rumor.
I think them putting the mantle on Shuri, I believe that's absolutely going to happen. It's one of those things where like it's not that I know anything about Chadwick Boseman, but it's weird how sometimes you can place a sort of personality on the people that you don't know. So like right off the bat, like I'm going to say that this doesn't sound like him, but I don't know the man. I'm hoping that the rumor isn't true. I don't feel that he should have any problem with the story progressing to basically or something happens to him and that his sister has to become the new Black Panther and take over for him. I think that would be completely stupid, but that's just how I feel on the situation.
I don't like the idea. I know it's done in comics, but I think like you should be able to have both of them as 2 different characters. Why is it that we can't have a cool character? We gotta have somebody transition to Thor or different things. Like I know it happens in the comics all the time. You shake things up, and I know actors get old, but I would rather Shuri be her own character. If not, you make something new, almost like Ironheart, but not Ironheart. Make her own thing. I know you say, but you can make your own character out of the movies and introduce that new character within the comic books, right? And make it, right? I would rather her become something different.
People listening, I don't say Ugg because of the name Ironheart. I just say Ugg because I think they cheated her. She should have been Iron Woman, but go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. But I think that's what it is. I understand. Boseman is upset. I can kind of understand this. Like you get a movie, and I know this is where we have an argument. You get introduced in the movie. Everybody loves your character. You get your first movie. You kind of get outshadowed in Black Panther by everybody else's performance. You kind of did. And now when you want a chance to make it up, now they're telling you, hey, we're going to limit your role, or we're going to transition your character, your role that you're into somebody else. I can understand from an actor standpoint, you're like, yeah, this kind of sucks. It's almost like I finally got the highlight of making $1 billion movie and becoming an icon that I could live off of with comic interview, with Comic Cons and others different things. But now you're transitioning away from me, only for me to probably be forgotten because you're going to make her cooler. On Marvel's side, I understand why you're doing it. Boseman is in his 40s. You want to transition to a younger crowd. The rumor is that you're going with a young Avengers, so the new Avengers cast is going to be a lot younger, so that you could do a lot more with them for 10, 20 years to come, and you don't have to worry about age and all this other stuff. I understand, right? And then also she's a Black woman, so you hit a lot of 2 other check marks, right? So I understand, but I would rather have 2 heroes than just 1, because when you look at the other movies, like the team-up movies, all the other characters' roles were so diminished. And then you look at secondary characters who get bigger roles and bigger speaking parts, bigger, cooler sequences. And it's like you look at the Dora Milaje, and it was like they were non-existent, in the other movies and so forth. And it's sad, because the only person that seems to be cool that they care about is our one character, Black Panther, while everybody else is like crap. While you have a whole bunch of great characters, do we just limit all of them and just make one character who had the biggest, brightest points into a character? Do we just make M'Baku because everybody liked him the most into the next Black Panther? I don't like that train of thought, and at least that's the way I look at it. But go ahead. I'm
not gonna pass judgment because I'm gonna wait till to see what type of story that they pan out with. If Coogler has full control over everything, since he likes tying a lot of his stories to a family, I can see even more the transition will actually be like a smooth one. Like it doesn't have to be like the comic books. His relationship with Storm led to him being kicked out of his kingdom after the whole Phoenix event. Yeah, it doesn't have to be an event where he ends up being disgraced or anything like that. he doesn't even have to die, or he doesn't have to become a lesser character. Like I was also thinking of the fact that like they already have the 616 version of the Ultimates, three characters on the board. So it's like we have Captain Marvel, we have Black Panther, and we already know that Monica Rambeau, Photon, exists, and she's already been introduced in Captain Marvel's movie, and she's gonna show up in WandaVision as well.
Yep.
So it's like we have three characters of the 616 Ultimates. All they have to do is introduce Blue Marvel, and then we have all four. So Black Panther could go off on cosmic escapades with them. That's a possibility, which means Shuri will have to take over the mantle at home, and like so there's no power gap or anything that's left in his wake. There's a lot of different ways they can do it, where like it doesn't mean that his role has to be diminished. But if it is one of those things where he's going to, if it is one of those things where he's going to die or something like that, like as long as they make him go out being completely badass, like I think it shouldn't be that much of an issue.
I just think that you could do both. I think you should be able to have Black Panther, and she should be your own separate character. Whether she's running off with the new Avengers team and then Black Panther is doing his own thing is one thing, but I think you should have both, and they should be separate. Her taking the mantle of Black Panther is fine.
She was extremely popular as Black Panther in the comics, though, so I can see why they want to run with that as well. It's like one of those things that it ticks on all cylinders. Yeah. Like you get a as you said before, you get a strong Black female lead, and she was already popular in the books, so it's like and they're trying to be much more. They're trying to show that they're trying to basically show that they can do strong women leading characters in these comic movies. So it basically hits on all cylinders there. I also hear what you're saying about that they could basically just do a 2-character thing. I mean, you wouldn't even have to turn her into a character because she's already a character as Shuri.
Yep.
Like, her costume's already pretty damn cool, and her firing Thundercat gauntlets are pretty dope looking as well. But like I personally don't have any issue with it, and even if I was playing his role, I wouldn't be pissed off about it as long as the story was good and the reasoning behind it and the transition was handled well, which I think will be handled well as long as there's not executives sticking their hands in the pot. Like if Coogler's handling himself, he'll make it real good. At least I expect he will. But that's how.
I know, but you got. I look at it like for instance, you take Brandon Routh, right, who plays Superman, and he comes in, he does Superman Returns, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I get to do a whole bunch of movies," and the next thing you know, the studio's like, "No, we're going to recast Superman. We're done." And then years later, they're like, "Hey, we're going to do this cool crossover. Do you want to recast?" And he finally goes, "Yeah, I could actually say goodbye to the role, that I put time and invested time in." I look at it like that. I look at it the same way with Black Panther. It's like, yeah, I'm looking at it, I'm going to get a whole bunch of movies, but wait a minute, you're telling me that I'm transitioning out by the next one. If that's the case. That kind of sucks from his standpoint.
That's you're looking at the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
It's like we don't know when it'll happen. Like if
that's true.
Happen.
That is true.
Yeah, so
let's look at some of the real quick. These aren't the what the fucks, but this is similar. This is just dumb shit. We haven't had anything yet for it, but we're gonna have to start calling it dumb shit. But I think that's what we're going to look at the next one. So let's look at real quickly. We'll go through these dumb shits. So Danny McBride, funny actor, does a lot of good stuff. He was in the last Alien movies. I think most people know him for Eastbound, Down and Out. And he's stating how one day he got a call from Kanye West of all people, and he asked him to basically portray him in a movie. And he's like, yeah, Kanye asked me to play him in a movie of his life. That was a pretty stunning phone call to get. I don't know why he wanted me to do it. Maybe that sense of ego I'm able to portray. I have no clue. So, real quick, dumb shit. What do you think of, what's your real quick thoughts on Dan McBride playing Kanye West, and do you think this will ever happen?
I don't think it'll ever happen. Because and the only reason I don't think it would ever happen because I don't think Danny McBride would put himself in that position.
Yeah.
Like maybe if this was back during the age when Tropical Thunder came out, maybe he would have had not much of a problem doing it.
Yeah.
But like, no, I don't think it will happen. For all the people who are trying to make excuses for Kanye saying stuff like he just does things like this because he knows it'll get people talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like you gotta understand that this wasn't something that would have came out if McBride didn't bring it up to people's attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, this doesn't mean that Kanye was doing this for publicity or just to get people talking. Like this is some shit that he was actually considering doing.
Yeah.
So it's this guy that people want to keep on making excuses for, and and people keep telling me that I'm overreacting when I say to people that he's fucking up the youth because there's so many people out there who idolize this guy and look up to him because of the amazing music that he made throughout his career. His fucked up emotional issues that he's had, that deals with things with the loss of his mom and everything else that he's never actually got therapy and stuff over, whatever else is going on in his life. Like the way that he handles situations, like these kids eat that shit up. Not just kids too, some adults. I'm not kidding the people when I tell you that he basically his version of unity and like extending the olive branch to bigots and shit like that. He's basically telling people to be that being submissive is love. That's the way that his message is coming across. And right here, if this shit had came off, then it would have been like him basically saying that he doesn't see a problem with blackface, and he'll probably said some sort of dumb shit like, we're all humans, so any race should be able to play any race, and like Scarlett Johansson would have been like, amen.
Yep.
So I don't know what the fuck's going through his head. I know people need to stop making excuses for him, and it's just like to all my friends and family and loved ones and everybody like that who still enjoy his music. I'm not judging anybody. You can still enjoy the man's music, the great music that he has made or continues to make. Like, there's no judgment here. I'm just saying that when somebody does bullshit, just call them out on it. Like, you don't have to make excuses for the person just because you like the entertainment that they put out.
Cool. Agree with you. I'm just saying I would love to see that movie. I think Danny McBride's a hell of an actor. I would love to see that movie. Him playing Kanye would be funny as hell, man.
Yo, it would be funny as fuck.
He's got to do it in a skit or something. They got to get him for SNL, and he's got to do a skit or something on it. He has to.
Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
If Kanye goes back, he's accepted on SNL, which I doubt, but if he's ever accepted back on SNL and they do a skit, they got to get Danny McBride in and just play him for one role. It'll be funny as hell. The next thing is internet challenges. So they're dumb, like the Tide Pod challenges, the lick the ice cream challenge, as we went over. So the latest challenge is a TikTok challenge where people are taking their balls, yes, their testicles, their ball sacks, and they're dipping them into soy sauce because they believe in an article that came out beforehand that different parts of your body can taste based on the high umami levels, different things. So they're basically dipping their balls into soy sauce to see if they could taste them. And they're videoing it and showing it on TikTok. And the second thing is they'll put an adapter or something into a wall outlet, like one half of it, and then they'll put a penny into the other half of the wall outlet to see sparks, and a lot of people are burning their houses down. I don't get it. I don't understand why. This goes back to the privacy stuff about doing stupid shit and having the ability now to capture it, as you alluded earlier. What's your thoughts on dipping your... First off, have you ever dipped your nuts into soy sauce, and what are your thoughts on it?
No, I haven't. Like, even like with the whole thing when they said that that your testicles possibly have taste receptors on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm just like, why would you even want to test that? Imagine how horrible your life would be if your balls could taste like your sweaty clothes after you've been to the gym. You've been like on a hot day out, or decided to sleep with somebody who has bad hygiene, do you really want to taste it?
I know.
I don't get it, man.
Cool. I'm glad that you went to it. I'm just gonna leave it as that. Our next topic is Detroit man who settled a race discrimination lawsuit with his former employee. Gets a check, tries to check it to deposit it in a bank, and the bank instead does not allow him, thinking that it's a fraudulent check, and then calls the cops on him, in which he then brings up another lawsuit against this bank, which he'll probably get money from. What are your thoughts on this?
This man's life is a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, that shit is crazy. Like, how in the hell you want me cashing a check for a discrimination lawsuit and then get discriminated by the bank that you try to cash the check into?
I don't know.
Like, they just go fuck around and make this man a millionaire. That's all that's gonna happen.
Yeah. That's what I said. This dude, this motherfucker hit the lottery twice. That's the easiest way of saying it.
Because I'm like, what's gonna happen next? Like, after he finally gets his money into a bank, he's gonna try to buy something at a store, and you're gonna get some shit happen there too. Yeah, like, it's just insane. Like, something like that would even happen.
That's crazy. But yeah, I don't want to say lucky him, but because he's had to go through that horrible trauma of having cops and asking him for all this stuff and questioning and all this stuff. It's crazy. Like, they brought him in and they questioned him. And I heard the other thing was he went to another bank, the same bank, another branch of the bank, and they deposited it with no problems. So yeah, but why would you call the cops? I mean, even if it is, why don't you talk to him? I mean, the guy gave you, like, the lawyer's phone number, gave you all the information you needed to validate whether or not the check was real. And the first instinct is not to check into it. Let me call the cops. I don't know, but we'll see more of it as it comes out. We talked a bit about wrestling last week, but unfortunately, sad news is that Rocky Johnson, father of The Rock Johnson, passed away last week. And R.I.P. They had a funeral. And interesting, Billy Graham, and I don't know if we could take this, but Billy Graham, because he's had issues with some of the stuff that he said in the past. But Billy Graham stated that his mom was at his mother-in-law was at the funeral. There was accounts that basically that Vince McMahon was drunk, falling over himself. Pat Patterson was like throwing out F-bombs and talking crazy. What are your thoughts on these two fellas and at the funeral?
I think it's completely fucked up if it's true. There's been other accounts come out to say that it's true, but the weird thing is that along with those other accounts that have come out, is basically saying that the Johnson family had no problems. Like, they say that it was true, but they have no problems or issues with their behavior. Yeah. And I was talking to Payne about that, saying that the crazy thing about that, if it is true, which it could be, is that it just shows you how insane the wrestlers are. Like, it really is a big circus.
Or this is just normal behavior that they're used to.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's like a circus family. So it's like there's no oddities amongst them. So that's why it's like all the stuff that we used to be like mortified by, like how they made Big Show relive his father's death on live TV. Yeah. And they decided to go even further with the whole having him being dragged on his dad's casket by the Big Boss Man. Or when they had CM Punk playing around with the urn that was supposed to be Paul Bearer's ashes, or even most recently where they had Ruby Riott come out with a picture of Jim the Anvil Neidhart, a cutout of him taped to a table, when the way he died was by hitting his head on the table. So it's like I don't know if they just all become numb to it after a while, but it seems like there's no lows to how far WWE will go when it comes to certain content. And this is and like the most recent one I just mentioned, this is in the PG era. So that just goes to show you how fucked up they can be with some of their situations. So like maybe it's just expected at this point.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. Next one, Gritty, which is probably one of the scariest mascots ever. We covered it in our P3 days about how scary of a mascot he looks like. It's the Flyers mascot. Definitely take a look at it. It's a scary thing. It's like a giant orange monster. I can't even describe it. But evidently they invited a boy over for a photo shoot. Supposedly the kid was patting him on the back of his head. And it is described, which is funny as hell. It said it's described as the kid walked away and Gritty got out of his chair, took a running start, and Superman punched the kid in the back. I just think Roman Reigns as Gritty doing this. What's your thoughts? The police are investigating and looking into this. What are your thoughts on Gritty, the mascot, punching a little kid in the back of his in the back?
Even though it sounds like something the fictional character of Gritty would do, I think it's all bullshit. It's funny even like envisioning something like that in your head. For one, nobody else witnessed this, and it should have been like full of a lot of people around when they went up to take this picture, so somebody else should have saw it just besides him. Two, the father and the kid continued to go around the facilities and like hang out and like do events and stuff like that there. You would expect one of the first things he would have did was contact security and the authorities if something like that happened.
Yep.
And three, like almost like a month after this, the father decided he actually loaded the picture of his kid and Gritty up to his Instagram. And I don't think if I have beef with the mascot who just punched my kid in the back, I would be uploading that picture.
Yep. I agree. Unless you have something like, here's the motherfucker who did it or something like that. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through the next one real quick. Orlando Brown claiming that Nick Cannon gave him moral. This came out, he's in a store. For some reason, he's like, Nick Cannon, you gave me head. And Nick Cannon's reply basically saying that he had mental health issues, but he never denied it, which is the weirdest thing about it. He didn't deny it. He didn't say, dude, you're crazy. That never happened. You know, I only like women, or if I am attracted to guys, I'm not attracted to you. He didn't say any of that. He never denied it. He just said, dude, you have mental issues, and this is what happens when we don't give people help. What's your thoughts on Orlando Brown claiming that Nick Cannon gave him a hit?
I kind of like rolled back and forth with this one because it's like when you said the whole thing about he didn't deny it. It just reminded me of past people that didn't deny things that Orlando Brown has said as well. But I also thought about it I also thought about it like this. They probably did not respond because they probably didn't want to feed it. So it's like
good point. Yeah,
as soon as he had actually made a denial or anything like that, it probably would have gotten to a back and forth, and it would have continued. And it's like his best. So like I gotta hand it off to Cannon. I think he handled it in the best way possible by basically saying like not only taking pity on Brown, but basically saying that this is the sort of thing that happens to our youth in the Hollywood system. So yeah, I think he handled it perfectly. Now that I've taken more time to think about it.
Cool. And then the last one, we have a woman, Andrea Grosser. Her mugshot is the funniest shot ever. Did you see it?
Yes, I saw.
Yeah. Basically, she's a Massachusetts woman who got caught. She was basically going into businesses and taking a shit, basically, for whatever reason. Outside of a sporting goods store. They finally caught her. They had a sting operation to catch her. I don't understand why people do this. I don't understand why.
Yes, it's been happening more and more as of late.
Yeah, I don't get it. Public, I don't get it. Thoughts on it? They got it. They finally got her. Her mugshot is, yeah. Go ahead.
We got her, boys. The town can rest safe. The serial shitter is in custody. Oh no, dog! It's just like that principal they caught that was doing it in the park all the time.
Yeah, the one who was doing it. Yeah, he was doing it on the football yard for some reason. Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Yeah, out of New Jersey, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
I'm
finally caught him.
I don't know, is this a mental thing? Is it just that is this one of those getting closer to nature things that they felt alive because they were taking shits out in public?
I had no clue.
Maybe I don't want to know. I'm just kind of scared that more and more public shit stories are becoming the thing now. Like everything from these people to like the people dumping hot diarrhea on people to even now most recently.
Wait. People putting hot diarrhea on people. Yeah. You gotta explain that one.
Well, like in Toronto, and also I think it was in a case happened in Cali as well. There's been people that are going around and like dumping buckets of hot diarrhea on people.
Wow, your mic is really bad, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, that's an ass whooping right there.
Yes.
I was like, oh, you may not be all there, but bop, 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 bop. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to take some of this aggression out on your face for that.
Wow.
Dumping hot liquid shit on me. Yeah, and then most recently, actually here in the Washington D.C. area, there's actually been people those rented electric scooters.
Yeah.
There's been people going around like smearing shit on the handles. So wow. I don't know, dog.
Wow. All right, let's wrap it up. Our wow of the week. Our wow, which is what the fuck of the week. It goes, this is a Florida man story. Miami police captain, who once called Tamir Rice a thug, defends this decision to claim himself as being black in order to get a promotion. Yeah. So we have Officer Javier Ortiz, who's claimed himself as being identified himself as a white Hispanic male, who on multiple times have stated as being a vocal Trump supporter, who's been described as the most controversial and well-known cop in Miami because he called the 12-year-old Tamir Rice a thug and argued that other prominent killings in the news were justified, and killings mean of black people. He tried to state that black images of black suspects have demonic eyes. He stated that Beyonce should be boycotted because she referenced something Black Panther at the Super Bowl. He also was accused twice. He falsely arrested black players based on racial profiling. Basically, everything anti-black you can look at, this guy is. But for whatever reasons, he stated that he did a DNA test, and he found that he had a drop of blood, black blood in him. So he's using that in order to get a degree, to get a promotion, because evidently in Miami they're promoting a lot of black staff members. So now he's identified himself as black, not because he identifies with black people, but to get a promotion. Your thought on Mr. Ortiz?
Throw him in the trash.
Well put. Anything else?
No, he's garbage. Just throw him away. At one point in time, I was going to say that until you had told me the reason why he was identifying, I was like, well, so he's the race version of, like, when you have a raging homophobe of a bigot who basically those type of guys who are so insane that whenever somebody brings up something about gay people, like smoke and steam start coming out of their ears and their
homophobics.
Yeah, like talking about how they'll fucking kill somebody and all this sort of shit, and then it's like you find out that
they're closeted.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like I was like, oh, so he's a racist version of that, but no, it's just that like oh no, I wanna the same fucking people that I hate, I'm gonna try to use them to get a promotion. He's the fucking it's not even a projection thing. He's just the fucking worst of the worst.
Yeah.
He is fucking refined shit personified.
Well, he stated, well, I learned there are people in my family that are mixed and that are black, Ortiz said. When the commission protested talk of the degree of blackness, Ortiz was quick to clarify that he wasn't claiming equal blackness. Oh, no, you're blacker than me. That's obvious, Ortiz said. And if you know anything about one drop rule, which started in the 20th century, which is what identifies and defines what black males is or a Negro, you would know that if you have one drop of black in you, you're considered black. Ortiz claimed that he was also part Jewish, and another commissioner chimed in. Mr. Ortiz claimed that he was black. He said, I'm afraid maybe next month he'd be a black Jewish woman. I don't know. So, yeah, he lied about this for his lieutenant's exam and captain's application.
Yeah. Get his ass all the way the fuck out of here.
Yep. For those who do want to reach out to you, can you let them know where they can find you, sir?
Yeah, if you want to look at my art, you can just look up the words Bitsaki, and you can find me anywhere there. For my personal stuff, like for video games or just talking and stuff like that, you can look me up under Two Beards, or as of right now, Scorpio Report for my Twitter, which is probably keeping me from getting jobs because of the shit that I retweet and say. Because
social system.
Living now.
Continue.
Yep. Those are the two names that you can find me under anywhere on the internet.
All right, I am your host, as always, Khan, and just so that you know, there's going to be some social media changes coming out. We're going to be rebranding. I said it before, as of now, a lot of our stuff to the KNOE, and that's KNOE. But that stuff hasn't happened. But if you can't find me under what I state now, it's probably because we've been rebranded to the KNOE. So look under for KNOE or the KNOE, and that'll probably be where you'll find me. But as of right now, we haven't done any branding. So if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me at Moebees, Moebes. That's my main account where on Twitter, clap back and post a whole bunch of stuff from conspiracies to what we need to do to get the madman that we have in office out of office now. And then if you want to stay up to date on news and stories and content, then I would tell you to go to Arn Games. That's ARNGAMES. That's our Twitter. And if you're looking at us for YouTube or Twitch, that's ARNGM. ARNGM. And that's where you can find all of our old content. So, yeah, we'll be changing a lot of that ARN stuff to the KNOE. It'll probably be coming within the next month or so. But just a heads up if you're listening to this later, and you can no longer find those links anymore. All right, sir. Next week, sir, I think we have a guest lined up.
Yep.
I think the next 2 weeks we'll have some guests lined up. All right, sir. I want to say thank you to everybody for coming out. As always.
I was gonna say thanks, y'all. We enjoy having y'all out. Thanks for coming by and listening to us ramble and talk about shit for over 2 hours. Y'all great people.
Yep. And sir, you need to get that mic fixed, man.
I do. I don't know why it's messing up this time around.
I don't know if it's your internet or what, but yeah, you're sounding like our buddy Roku, who will be back in a couple weeks. Just a heads up. But I gotta take those little jabs at Roku every once in a while. Watch him come back. He's gonna have like a state-of-the-art mic and shit. Sound better than mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sound better than mine, all crystal clear. And I'm like, damn it! Now I gotta fix my shit.
That's and I'm going to be the one with the worst mic on the stream.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Our goal, folks, is, and also, if you listen to this and you like it, please share it with others. Our goals is if we could definitely get more people into it. There's a lot of stuff we would like to do with this show, right? We would like to start taking calls. We would like to rent out a studio, get more professional. There's a lot of stuff. Have live channels. Like we're moving towards maybe doing camera streams and so forth, but we need more viewership. We need more people. We need more likes. We need more of you, folks, to pass this out and get more people to listen. So please do so. Yeah. Please do so. And so that's the end of the show. And remember, folks, shoot the shit. Don't be shit.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah, shoot the shit. Don't be shit.
Good one. Good one.
Yep, that's our catchphrase, and we're out. We don't know if we're going to stick with it, but that's what it is for episode 7 of Shoot the Shit Podcast. Until then, folks, peace out. Stay safe.
All right. Peace, people.